I'm using some scraps of 1-inch 120 wall tubing to start my light bar. Here's what I came up for the design for my light bar. I'm going to kind of make it like a sunscreen, sort of. It'll stick out, kind of protect the windshield. You saw I spliced these tubes together. Basically, this is not structure, it's not part of the roll cage, it's just for the light bar. So to save money, metal's expensive these days, so I just spliced it together. It's not that big of a deal. And then I'm going to mount the lights. I'm going to cut these 1-inch things, and I've put a little slot in there to go around it. And I'll cap those off, and I'll put 4 of those on top across the top. That's the plan. Let's see what happens. Okay, now I've got these mounts ready to weld up. You saw I use the hole saw and the drill press. That's how I make the caps when I make these kind of mounts. When I cut them like that, and that leaves you a nice edge when you weld. It just sits right on top, so I can fill that all with weld, make it nice and strong. Whenever I drill holes, I always bevel them out with one of these bevelers. Makes a cleaner hole. Okay, get these mounts tacked in. What I did is I wanted the hole to line up with the center of the bar, so I kind of use the bar. That gives me the center point that way. And I tack the other side on. And to get it level, I just did it like that. I just kind of eyeballed it so you can see they're both the same. Because the lights are adjustable, so as long as they're all the same, that's all that really matters. Okay, I got them all tacked on, and they're all lined up. I'm going to finish with this on the bench, so what I'm going to do is I just put tacks at the top. I'm going to bend this straight up and break the tacks off here, but I put registration marks on it on both sides so I can put it back where it goes. So, okay, here it is all welded up. I'm getting ready to tack weld it back into the buggy. Alright, I got the light bar tacked in. It looks like from behind. I'll pull the covers off in a second. Alright, here they are mounted up. These marker lights are maybe turn signals. I'd previously made tabs for those, so I've got those mounted now. Now, one of the best parts about building the car, seems like you don't get to do it often enough. One thing done. Okay, with the lights all done, it's time to move on. I decided I'd move on to the front end, and the first thing I want to tackle are my bump stops. And they were kind of problematic, so I'll show you the solution I came up with. Okay, when the front end travels, I wanted a bump stop somewhere on here as it travels up. But the problem, it's just so tight in there, there's no place to really mount anything that goes in there, and it can't go there because of the shock. So I thought about putting a bracket right here that would hit it, but then I came up with something simpler. I think it'll come in contact with the upper arm. So that's the plan. Since the bump stop's going to hang over right here, I made a washer. Actually, I made 2 of them. That'll support the bottom of the bump stop. This bump stop is an energy suspension. It's a number 6003. Okay, in order for this bump stop to hit the center of the upper arm, I'm going to have to keep the hole as close to the edge as possible. I don't think it's really going to be a problem because it's basically all the forces when it hits that, so all the force is going to be pushing straight down on it. So basically it's just holding the bump stop on is all it holds to on there. And I don't think I'm going to weaken that. This guts, it's probably more than a 1/4 inch thick. So I think I'll be okay. That's the plan. Okay, coming up, I accidentally took a photo instead of a video. The bump stop's going to work, just not this particular one. I needed to order a square one. That top rolled edge wants to try to slide off the round upper arm, so a square one will work just fine. Okay, with the bump stops done, next I'm going to move on to the spindle. I need to move my tie rod to the bottom so I'll have clearance. In order to do that, I have to drill this hole out. It's a tapered 1/2 inch hole right here, but I just need a straight 1/2 inch hole so I can move this to the bottom. I could drill it out to 5/8 because I have this type of Heim spacer in it, but I don't want to make this hole any bigger than I have to. So I'm going to leave a 1/2 inch bolt in it and just drill it out. And if I want to, I could drill it out to 5/8 later, but I think I'd rather just drill a 1/2 inch and leave as much of that as possible. Okay, here's everything reassembled. And with my travel, it goes all the way up. I do have a little space there, about a 1/4 inch, full height. And it's hard to see, but I have about the same there. Okay, one thing you may or may not know, when you use the extended arms here, mine aren't the longest ones, mine are kind of mid-range, but the link pin that goes there, you have to use an aftermarket one. There's the stock one, and there's the aftermarket. You can see the difference. But anytime you have oversized arms, you have to run these, and these are empty right there. Okay, I'm just assembling everything for mock-up. I'll tear it back down and repaint it. I just want to put enough lube on things so they can move. That way when I pull it back apart to paint it, I won't have a ton of grease everywhere. But it'll have a little bit of grease, so just when I roll it around. Okay, these link pins have a flat spot ground on them. That's what allows the bolt to pass through. If you look through, it's kind of in the way right there. So when you try to insert the bolt, it hits it. So what I did is I took an old bolt and I just kind of rounded the edge off to make it go through there. And then hopefully I can just tap it through. And then it pushes it out of the way. And that's how I make the bolts line up. So now it's rotated. That's also what keeps the bolt from spinning when you can tighten that. So that's your trick of the day. Okay, I ran into one little issue. I had to take the misalignment spacer out of this Heim to bring this up a little bit. This is fully extended right now, but it'll need a limit strap, so I'll bring it up about a 1/2 inch. With it fully extended, I do hit before I get to the turning radius. So it just needs to come up about a 1/2 inch, which what it will be once I have the limit strap, and then I get full turn. So no big deal, but it's something I did notice. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the front end installation to mock it all up. And the issue I've been talking about with the front spindle, I'll show you right now. Okay, the issue I've been talking about with my spindles that's on the list, there's a kingpin that goes through here. There's a thrush washer on the bottom side of that, which keeps this spindle from going up and down. They were out of the size that I needed, so I had to get a stock size, which is too thick, and I had to grind it down to fit, which is kind of common, but it was hard to get even, and what happened is I overground it, so I actually have a little bit of play there. You can almost hear it. So anyway, I need to pull that back out and put a new thrush washer in it. That's the issue. I don't feel like doing that right now. At the time I was ordering them, the thrust washers were back ordered. No one had them. So I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to go ahead and assemble the front end. That way I can get it down on all of its weight, and the front end will be done. So that's how I'm going to move forward. Whenever I open new stuff, I always separate it. And since this is for the disc brakes, I should have two of everything. Here, I've only got one of these, so I'm not sure what that is yet. And apparently these bolts don't come with it, which bolts this caliper to the spindle. So I figured out their metric 10.15. So I'm going to try to find some bolts so I can mock together. And if you don't have one of these, I have both of these in standard and metric. These are awesome. They help you find bolts. So good thing to have around the shop. Okay, to put my bearing races in, I don't have a press, so I just use a block of wood to get them started. That gets them down flush to the edge of the block of wood. And then I use a 36 millimeter socket. Sets on top of it, and I drive that the rest of the way down until it seats. Same thing on the back side, except to drive the seat, I use a 1 3/4 socket, which is the same size as the bearing. So that's how I do that.
Yeah, like Schwab. I can get full service wealth management, advice, invest on my own, and trade on Thinkorswim.
No, Carl is the only front man you need.
Oh, I'm going to take this call.
Okay, one issue I'm running into, these are US wheels, they're for Bajas, they're for the 5-lug Baja. But I noticed on the back, and I'm having more of a problem on the front, the tolerances on the disc brakes are so close. When they weld these, you can see that sticks up a little bit. It's just a lag from the weld. Everywhere it sticks up past that, it touches the brake. So I'm gonna have to go through here and make sure all the welds are below the lip of that right there. Because it's not much, it's maybe 1/8 of an inch, but that's dragging on the disc brake. So I'm gonna have to clean those up. Okay, I had to grind quite a bit of slag off there. And I guess, to their defense, these are cheap wheels. These are about the cheapest 5-lugs you can get. I think I paid around $40 a piece for them, so it's not that big a deal. I'll just put some black paint on them, but we'll see what they do now. Okay, the other problem I'm having with the front disc brakes, which is a pretty common problem on all the 5-lugs with disc brake, my studs are a little too long, so I'm going to have to cut about 1/8 to 1/4 off of them. No big deal, it's pretty common. Okay, I'm about to wrap up this video, and I'm pretty excited. It's going to be the first time that the front of the buggy is going to hit the ground on its suspension. So I'm going to turn the camera around, and you'll see it as I see it. So let's go and hope for the best. Okay, here we go. I'm going to twist the handle on the jack. Hope for the best. Ugh. Well, there it goes. On the ground. Yeah. A little anticlimactic, but it's there. Oh, there it goes. Now it's settled. Okay, well there it is. Pretty excited.